reliable 100% fiber internet kaya ang sarap maging tambahay with Red Fiber.
Japanese former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe dies Friday, July 8, after being shot while campaigning for a parliamentary election. Public broadcaster NHK says a man armed with what appears to be a homemade gun opened fire at him from behind. Abe was making a campaign speech outside a train station when two shots rang out. Earlier, a hospital official said Abe appeared to be in a state of cardiac arrest when airlifted to the hospital after having initially been conscious and responsive. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida condemns the shooting as an unacceptable attack on the foundation of Japan's democracy. Police say a 41-year-old man suspected of carrying out the shooting has been arrested. NHK quotes the suspect as telling police he was dissatisfied with Abe and wanted to kill him. Political violence is rare in Japan, a country with strict gun regulations. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. tests positive for COVID-19. This disclosure is made by Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles in a media briefing on Friday, July 8.
The President has tested positive in an antigen test for COVID-19. He has a slight fever, but he is otherwise okay.
According to Health Department protocols, after isolating for 7 days, he can resume face-to-face activities should he be symptom-free. This is the second time Marcos tested positive for COVID-19. Meantime, Lorraine Badoy, former spokesperson of the government's anti-insurgency task force and notorious red tagger, targets the Angat Buhay non-governmental organization of former Vice President Leni Robredo. Badoy falsely claims on Monday, July 4, in a show on SMNI that the people behind the Robredo-led Angat Buhay are allegedly allied with the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, and the National Democratic Front or CPP-NPA-NDF. Angat Buhay is run by civilians not affiliated with communist rebels and it does not have a Leni Youth arm, contrary to Badoy's claims. Angat Buhay executive says his group is eyeing legal action against Badoy. The Philippine Court of Appeals affirms the cyber libel conviction of Rappler CEO and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Ressa and former Rappler researcher-writer Reynaldo Santos Jr. The CA ruling was signed by Associate Justices Roberto Quiroz, Ramon Bato, and Hermano Francisco Legaspi. The CA justices also imposed a longer prison sentence than what the Manila court imposed in June 2020, which was 6 months and 1 day as minimum to 6 years as maximum. In a statement Friday, July 8, Rappler says, both will avail of all legal remedies available to them, including elevating the decision to the Supreme Court for review. Meantime, alternative news website Bulatlat requests a Quezon City court to unblock its website and nullify the memorandum of the National Telecommunications Commission. Bulatlat argues that NTC's order, pushed by former National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr., totally prevents them from exercising their right to publish news. In June, less than 2 weeks before the new administration took over, Esperon invoked the anti-terror law and asked the NTC to block the websites of Bulatlat and fellow alternative news platform Pinoy Weekly. Barristers from a British law firm representing jailed Hong Kong tycoon and democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai say on Thursday, July 7, they received anonymous emails warning them against traveling to the city to defend him. Lai is among the most prominent people to be charged under a national security law that Beijing imposed on Hong Kong in June 2020. Critics of the law say authorities are using it to stifle dissent, a charge officials in Hong Kong and Beijing reject. The barristers, Quaylen Gallagher, Jonathan Price, and Jennifer Robinson from the Doughty Street Chambers tell Reuters the messages came from a generic Gmail address and declined to say if they would be traveling to Hong Kong for the trial. Lai is already serving a 13th-month sentence after being convicted for his role in an illegal assembly in 2020 to commemorate victims of Beijing's Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989. Meantime, Russian politicians celebrate the downfall of Boris Johnson on Thursday, July 7, casting the British leader as a stupid clown who had finally got his just rewards for arming Ukraine against Russia. Johnson announced he was quitting on Thursday after he was abandoned by ministers and most of his conservative lawmakers over a series of scandals. Rafa Nadal's hopes of completing a rare calendar year Grand Slam end on Thursday, July 7, after pulling out of his Wimbledon semi-final against Australian Nick Kyrgios with an abdominal strain. A hurting Rafa Nadal exhibited heroic mental strength and beat American Taylor Fritz in a Wimbledon quarterfinal on Wednesday, July 6, despite his ailment. The Wimbledon champion powered through his match with Fritz despite his family urging him to retire early in the second set. Nadal won the Australian and French Opens back-to-back this year for the first time in his career and was angling to complete the calendar year slam.